Hey there, my name is Ben. I'm the amp tech at Retrofret, and today I wanted to show you this Fender Harvard. It's in mint shape and it's from 1957. So I'm just going to go over a couple of things that we do to bring amps in general up to spec, and let's take a look inside. Okay, so first I'm going to speak very generally about what happens when we get a tube amp at the shop. And this is a great example because it was all mint. And you can see the guts have been pulled out and replaced. And some of those for very good reasons. So let's just go from left to right here. We're going to always replace the power cord with a 3-prong cable. This allows the chassis to be grounded, prevents electrical shocks. It's a no-brainer. It's not going to protect your tone to use a 2-prong cable. We also remove the line to ground capacitor that used to be right here, connecting the AC live wire to the ground chassis through that capacitor. Check out the selenium rectifier. That was disconnected and replaced with a silicone diode. Next, we replaced the power filter caps with Sprague Adams, one of the most popular brands of these filter caps. This is the bias filter cap here, and it's connected in opposite polarity because the bias supply is negative. And also the preamp cathode bypass capacitor here is electrolytic and it gets replaced. Now, these capacitors have also been replaced. These are the coupling capacitors of the preamp, and also coupling into the power amp stages there on the left. These are originally these yellow mustard Astron caps, and they just get leaky with time. And if they're holding their own, we might consider leaving them. But these ones happen to be leaky, and when these guys are leaky, they're going to couple DC to the volume potentiometer and cause it to be scratchy. When these guys are leaky, they're going to throw the bias off and cause the power tubes to overheat and just be reduced efficiency. So they needed to go. These are nice metallized polypropylene caps. If you want to shell out an extra $40, you can buy paper and oil, or I think they use polyester and oil nowadays. So then moving on to sort of general servicing here. Clean the jacks, make sure that they're normaling properly. We clean all the tube sockets with deoxit and clean the potentiometers with deoxit as well. For this amp also, I check the bias and make sure that it's at an appropriate level for a fixed bias amp, which this Fender Harvard is. It's generally desirable to be around 70% plate dissipation, which for a 6v6 is 14 watts. So 70% is sort of the rule of thumb. These guys actually come in much lower because the Fender Harvard only has about 300 volts on the plates. And you'll see in later Fenders, when they're trying to squeeze out every ounce of power they can, they bump that up to like 400 volts. So these guys are, a little bit more conservatively biased. Maybe you get 10, 12 watts out of this amp, but they are great sounding watts. While we're in here, let's just take a look at these nice original transformers. Very beefy. And I think that about does it for this Fender Harvard.